That's good.
What's up, Denver event professionals? Welcome back to another episode of the Denver NACE podcast. I am your host and music director of Extreme Strings Electric Violins, Jared Judge. And today I am joined by a special guest, another member of our lovely chapter of NACE. Welcome to our podcast, Luis Martinez. Luis, how's it going?
It's wonderful. Thanks for having me on here. I've been excited to do this, and I'm just kind of getting involved with NACE as we just became members earlier this summer, and so I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome to our chapter. Hopefully, you've had a chance to enjoy some of our programming before the end of the year. We are not here to talk about NACE. We are here to talk about you and Lucia Event Design Services. So I guess let's start kind of from the basics. Tell me a bit about you, and I know that you work closely with your wife on some very cool things in our industry.
Absolutely. So about me, so I got involved with the wedding and event industry. Obviously, my wife, Shannon Martinez, she owned the Olive and Poppy, which is a floral design studio, and so she started her business, I believe, about 11 years ago. And in those, in that short time frame, she was doing really small weddings to where we were providing a small, 50 guest wedding out of the back of an SUV, right? Like we were traveling around and we were hauling all the flowers and all the candles on the back of her Jeep. And so I'd be sitting at home and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go help me strike my event?" And I'm like, "What is that?" She's like, "Do you want to go help me pick up my stuff?" And I'm like, "Why don't you just say that?" So I went with her, and we had our first one. It was at Villa Parker, and I don't know if I mean, I'm sure you have, but wedding cake is probably the best thing ever. And so when I got there to help my wife, like they were offering wedding cake. And so I started eating wedding cake, and I didn't help my wife strike anything. The second time I went with her was at Wash Park Boathouse, and same thing happened. They gave me a whole like pan of a cake, like a
Oh,
sleeve of
wow.
a cake, and I was like, "What am I gonna do with this?" So I thought that every time I went, I was gonna get cake with my wife, and I was like, "I'll go anytime you need me to help." So, but what happened is I started to see a deficiency of not just only the labor, but at night, right? Like you've been around the industry. Sometimes at night, like some of these venues are not, the backside of these venues are not in the best areas. You know what I mean? It's poorly lit, alley traffic. There's people around, especially in Denver. Even the Four Seasons downtown, you get caught in a box truck down the block, and I'm not saying anything's bad, but it's just our industry has been, when I started in here and saw my wife, was heavily female, and it still is, right? And so I noticed at night that there were people struggling with getting their stuff in cars. They were working on short time frames, like it was dark out, and at the end of the night, like everybody's just in a hurry. They're like, throw it in there and get out of here. And so I started to notice a deficiency in a couple of different ways. And this time I worked at the Mint, at the US Mint. So I was a machinist there, and I was making the dies that strike the coins.
Hmm.
But it was a great paying job. It was a six-figure job, and I loved I didn't love what I did. I loved the fact that I had a full-time 40-hour work week job with benefits,
Sure.
but I hated what I did. I hated the culture. Not hated, it wasn't me. And so I
Hmm.
really started to catch this idea of what she was doing in the industry. And I was like, hey, I've had 30 years of experience because I started out in the city of Commerce City doing large fireworks shows, city of Thornton doing huge festival events, Thornton Fest, Winterfest, Harvest Fest, huge. And then went to Adams County, did fair and rodeo. And so it's been inside of me where I've done large event work. And so
Hmm.
I took a leap of faith in 2018, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to sit down and really look at this labor side of the event industry. And I started the strike crew in August of 2018. And I did maybe about 20 events that year, and I had about three people that worked for me, right? So, and then in
Wow.
2019, I went to about 350 events, and then went to about 15 to 20 people that started working for me. And so it was it was drinking through a fire hose. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
it was really learning how to provide labor and logistics for people who do things differently, right? Like there's not a one way to do things. And so we learned a lot. We learned a lot over the last 5 or 6 years on just what the wedding event industry needs. And it's, to be honest with you, Jared, this is a luxury service, right? Like that's the hard part about this, is that we're providing a luxury service. And so over the years, what we've done, I believe what we've done with the Strike Crew is we've brought the awareness of labor. Um, and a lot of people now have their own in-house strike crews.
Mm.
A lot of people that we used to work for, now don't hire us, rightfully so, because we are, like I said, we are luxury labor, we are luxury product, and so they started their own. So it's been really cool to kind of, what we do wasn't trend setting, but starting a company to help provide with the labor has kind of pioneered a couple of things, for people in house and things like that. So, and it just led us over the years as growth happened, right? Like, so I talk about my wife, like she was doing one wedding, of like 10 or 12 tables, and we were hauling it in the back of an SUV.
Hmm.
The other day, she went to go do a styled shoot, and she could barely fit one centerpiece in the back of her vehicle.
Yeah.
So you can see the growth, right? Like you can see just massively the change of things. And it's not like all we want to do now is focus on the big and the luxury and everything. It's now with us coming together and combining our company and having a lot of skin in the game and being around the industry for quite a while, we want to create a community, right? Like we want to create community over competition. How can we better serve the community instead of trying to take people's business or trying to be all things to all people? And
Yeah.
I think that's what's kind of separating us a little bit now, is that we really want to help the community. We don't want to try and to work against or separate ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if it's that's by the way, congratulations on, having an idea and then just going for it. That
Yeah,
takes
thank you.
takes a lot of guts. I would love to dive a little bit deeper into the strike crew story because that was some impressive numbers that you just threw at me.
Yeah.
Starting out with, single double digit events and then literally over 10xing, 20xing in the next year. How did you accomplish that kind of massive growth from a marketing perspective?
You know what? It was super, like, so having a wife that's already been in the industry and having those connections, literally what I done, 75 to 90% of my business came from emails and Instagram, right? So all I did was I reached out to my wife, started sending me like, hey, reach out to this florist, reach out to this florist. And it's crazy because over the growth of time, right? Like our perception of how we look at things, right? Like, I remember certain florists that we worked for was like, holy cow, like we're working for this florist and they're big. And we were learning, right? We were learning how to do arches. We were learning how to do, backdrops. We were learning how to do bars. So I was learning all the mechanical stuff and the construction stuff I knew. But the finesse stuff and then turning it from like design, right? Something in design is it's got to be lightweight. It's got to be, something that withstands a lot of movement, and it's got to be practical, right? And so that's hard. That's really hard in our industry. So I really tried to learn how to bring practicality into the labor side of things, right? Because that's where most people struggle with, is like, oh my God, I can produce this big, great event and I can do all these things. But the execution part is where it's the hardest part, because that's where you have so many variables, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody has their set times where it's like, okay, we got to load in at 10 o'clock p.m., but one vendor's there late and their truck is in the loading dock for another hour and a half. And now we've crunched an hour and a half time frame. And, so we've had to learn how to adapt and to learn how to come up with different ways to get things done. And I think that's been really cool. And I think with doing that, with me having the experience and going and telling people, hey, you don't have to go pick up your stuff. We can get a van for you. We can come to your shop and we can pick it up for you and load it. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And
Mm.
so that's kind of how we started to grow this, was like, let us do what you don't want to.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's
Um,
been the key to it.
yeah, that's awesome. And then I also noticed that on the Strike Cruise website, you are probably one of the few events industry people that has a mission outside of just making the events go fantastically. And once it's cleaned up, it's cleaned up. It seemed like you hire people based on a specific principle and you support an underserved population. Would you mind talking about
Absolutely.
about that a little bit?
Yeah, some of my personal story, and my wife too, is we're both in recovery. I'm coming up on 17 years, alcohol and hard substances. My wife is coming, she just celebrated 15 years of
Oh,
sobriety.
congratulations.
And so I think with us, like having a servant heart, and understanding, like, to me, being in recovery and being a spiritual man, and I'm not trying to way off here and stuff. I think the principle is when you're of service to people, good things happen in your life, right? Like that's just a it's a paradox. Like you be of service, you help people, good things happen. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's the truth of it, right?
Mhm.
So there was a lot of people that helped me. There was a lot of people that offered a hand to me and said, I see you. I know you're not a bad guy. I know you've had a rough time and I'm going to help you. And some people in the industry, a lot of people in the industry didn't really know my story until they knew me, right? Because I'm fully sleeved. You know, I have all the tattoos I have. I can be a very intimidating presence and I can change my demeanor in a heartbeat because that's where I come from. I come from the streets. I come from this rough area, but that's not who I am, right? It's the fear that wants to take over and the fear that wants to guide me into being a really tough, mean guy. But who I really am is a kind, caring, compassionate man who wants to help people. And so when people started giving me the opportunity, I know what it was like when I was first getting sober and trying to get a job. I know what it was like trying to get out of certain situations and trying to put one foot in front of the other. And there were people in front of me that helped me do that. And I want to have the ability to give people that opportunity. Right. And so it's been amazing. Like I've watched some of the greatest stories. You know, we have one working for us right now, you know, Love. She's got a pretty characteristic story and she's got a pretty colorful past. And she is one of the bright spots in our company. You know,
Mm.
everybody knows her, everybody loves her, everybody sees who she is, you know what I mean? And yeah, we come with a little bit of baggage. We come with tattoos and we come with certain things, physical features that have, you know, kind of tells our story, but it's not who we are. And I'm trying to break down that idea of who you are by a perception, right? Like I want people to see perception off, but when they encounter with them, they're like, oh my God, these guys are the greatest things that have ever worked for us. And that's kind of what we get. Now, here's the caveat. You're still dealing with sick people, right? So that's the hard part is that you can give all your heart in the world and people will still turn around and shit on you. You know what I'm saying? So that's the hard part that comes with it. And that's the kind of the part that kind of makes you a little bit scarred or kind of want to stop doing it because everybody's vetted. You know, it's not like I'm allowing criminals on people's sites or anything like that. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
everybody's, you know, and there's a lot of people on these sites that we don't know their story and we don't know their past. And so I'm not trying to make any big deal about that, but I make sure I vet everybody. I don't deal with anybody that has theft and I don't deal with anybody that has child stuff. So there are certain standards that we still uphold with doing that. But for the most part, it is people that are looking for a second chance. And in my experience, you get the right ones, they will do everything they can for you. You
Yeah.
know, there's something to prove with somebody who's been given a second chance and really sees that light. There's something to prove. And there are a lot of stories that we have that are remarkable. You know what I mean? But there are the ones where it's hurt us in a way. You know, people come out of halfway homes and then they don't have a ride. They don't call, no shows. And so we really kind of watch where we kind of put those people in play. A lot of them stay at the warehouse and help us until we can see that they have some level of commitment or something to go out and do that. So it's not like in the beginning it was, right? Because it was me learning how to do this. And then I saw red flags. I'm like, I shouldn't put some of those people on site or I need to watch this a little more. And so it is still what we do, but it is not the basis of how we hire anymore. I mean, we're getting too big. We're on multi-million-dollar sites, and you know what I mean. Like we still have to make sure we're doing things the right way and going outside and hiring through Indeed, hiring through hiring sites and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a big part of my story, and it is a big part of who we are. You know, we're a very colorful group, and I think we've shown the wedding event industry that you're wrong by judging by perception. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, thank you for doing that. That sounds really amazing.
Yeah.
And it also sounds like, maybe that is, you've mentioned you work at such a large scale now. Like, I wonder, that's probably how you figured out how to scale a workforce was by starting from the ground up and dealing with issues as they came up, developing systems and processes around that.
I think the biggest thing is for people, well, not people. I think my experience is that when you're looking at the labor side, when you're looking at the event side of things, nothing can happen if you don't have bodies to put the shit up? Nothing. I don't care who you are. Like you can design all the greatest things in the world, but if you don't have fabricators and laborers, nothing's going to happen, right? And I'm noticing that those guys, once you give them a sense of worth and then you explain the importance of these things, I've watched a couple of our guys just awesome, and it's, take off on a whole new level, right? Now the caveat of that is you train these guys to be really good. Well, it's a big wedding event industry, right? Like I have a lot of people that have worked for me that are working for other people right now. I've trained them, I brought them in this industry, and at first I used to take that really personal. I used to be like, well, wait a minute, you can't go work for I trained, I showed you, I introduced you to these
Yeah.
people. But understanding that and understanding like I don't have a monopoly on this thing, and then there's so much to go around for everybody. That's where the sense of life has stopped trying to combat with like we're training and we're losing all these people because they're going and helping other people, or maybe we're training them to help the industry. Like, what do we know? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the turn we've taken on it now, is that community over competition.
I love that. It's that abundance mindset. There's more than enough to go
Yeah,
around. And
absolutely.
hey, even if you're helping your competition, you're making the world a better place.
And that's been my experience with personal, like, right, like I've battled some of the worst addiction. I was homeless. You know what I mean? I was living in Mission Viejo Park 16 and a half, 17 years ago. This time, right now, this time, 17 years ago,
Wow.
I was living in Mission Viejo Park right before the holidays. I had to break into my mother's house on the day after Thanksgiving because they didn't want me in the house and I liked her cooking. You know what I mean? And so there's a different perspective on things, right? Like I know what bad is. I know
Yeah.
what being down and out and broke is. I also know what being on top of the world is, right? Like, and so there's not a far there's not a far distance between both of those. The distance in between that is service. You know what I mean? It's doing the right thing, or it's being selfish and doing the wrong thing. And either one of those will send you either way, right? And so in the industry, you see it. And if you're around long enough, you see a lot of those people who really, really, really do work for themselves. They become successful quick. And then all of a sudden they find themselves standing alone going, well, wait a minute. Like, why is this not working for me? Well, it's because you've been so selfish with it. You know what I mean? And I've been there. I've 100% been there. I'm not saying I'm different. I've been there. I've wanted it all for myself, and I got all the people and I got everybody working for me. And then I was like, great, you guys can run it now. I built this, and now I'm going to go work on my other business. And it hurt me. It hurt me tremendously. You know what I mean? I stopped caring about the small, important things that started my business for a moment. You know what I mean? Now I started to see that hurt me. And it was the relationships. It was all personal relationships. Everything is the personal relationships. And I wasn't nurturing those relationships. I was depending on guys that I was bringing in to nurture those relationships, and they weren't doing it. So, this order of success kind of screws with you, right? Like I got really big, really fast, and I was like, great, here we go. Now I'm going to go start my next adventure. I didn't stay with the nuts, like the nuts and bolts of it, right? Like the compassion, the caring, the service. Like I'm still there, but I wasn't doing it personally. So that's what kind of has hurt and ebb and flowed our business.
Yeah. Wow. That's a very great lesson to learn, like as we're all in various stages of our business. I'm curious, I really do believe in everything that you're saying. How could the industry as a whole embrace this concept of uplifting each other and even just bringing in people that we may not have otherwise given a chance to be a part of this industry and grow them in the way that you have? How could we be a part of this?
I think we need to have more conferences or lunches, just lunches. Nobody provides anything. Nobody provides, like, it's not a donated, lunch, or it's not a donated floral, it's not a donated speaker, it's not like, we have a lot of these NACE and WIPA and the Event Alliance and all these things, and they're amazing. They're all amazing. And they survive on having people sponsor and do all these things. And I think what that does is it categorizes certain people, right? Like it puts people in a NACE category or an Event Alliance category or a WIPA category, and they go do their own things and sponsor some of those events, right? Like, I think we should just start doing lunches. Just, hey, bring a lunch. We've got a room. Let's all sit down and let's all start talking. There's no agenda. right? You always know, as I do, is when you start talking about the event industry, that energy starts, right? And all of a sudden, if you can just start simple communication and you can just start having people sit around, you will start to create the community. You will start to create that community over competition. Because I think right now is that you start to see like, oh, I'm not a part of that, so I'm not really going to engage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not a part of this. So I see it, I like it, I support people that are in it, but I'm not really going to engage. And a lot of these different chapters are providing valuable information in certain areas, right? And so,
Hmm.
and I get it, they're all fees and we need to do that, right? But I think sometimes we put down this blanket of like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and just collectively just say, hey, let's all sit down and just have a chat. Like, let's not make any keynote speakers. If you have an idea or you want to share something with somebody, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like
No.
that. Like just increasing the level of us getting together and sharing. I think a lot of people are afraid of if they share their recipe for success. Like people are going to run and steal it and go make it theirs, and it's not going to be successful anymore, right? Like
Yeah,
it's wrong.
for sure. That's
It's
where
wrong.
it's the only unique thing about a business is the people, right? You
Think
can't.
about this though. Think about the industry though. Think about the wedding and event industry as one business, right? Like you have a lot because the wedding and event industry is you got to either love it or you don't do it.
It's very true.
You know what I mean? Like it is not the best hours. It is not the most convenient time. And you're around a lot of people who are in high stress environments and they're all trying to do the same thing. And then when the event's over, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I did this. Oh my God.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's just the lifestyle we live in, right? And I think if we can slow that down a little bit and not make it about competition or not make it about if you're a part of this or you're a part of this, if we just start bringing that industry in as a whole and start filling the gaps on like needs and things like that, right? Because that to me, because I'm in the softball world, right? Like there's a whole other thing. I own a business. I own a 5280 fast pitch. I own my indoor hitting facility. I work with 50 hitters a week. Like my life is run by teenage girls. Like I am the butt of every joke you can think of.
That's very funny.
And so we have a lot of different organizations and leagues and this and that and stuff. And so it's the same thing with battling there, right? Like you get a lot more into this competition and it separates it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I love how honest you are about everything. I'd love to, just because we do have a time limit here, I'd love to learn a little bit more about Lucia. Would you mind sharing
Yeah.
us about that and what you and your wife do together now?
Yeah. Lucia is just the combination of years, right? Like I've been doing large work, event work for 30 some years, right? She's been doing flowers and she's been a florist for over 20 some years, owning her own business for the past 13, I think 12 or 13 years. And, we just saw how big we were growing. Like my company, Strike Crew, has literally helped her company grow because we were able to provide the labor and staffing. And so we started to see that it's like, holy cow, like you've grown tremendously. And it's because we've had this labor and logistics team right at her beck and call, like right at her service, right? And that's happened for a lot of other people, a lot of other florists in the industry. So you can see helping them grow. And like I said earlier, they started to create their own strike crews and their own labor and logistic teams within, right? So with us, you're either growing or you're not. Like, it's either a choice of what you want to do. So it's based on like the choices that Shannon and I have, like the goals that her and I have. And it's not like we want to be all things to all people, but we're in the prime of our life right now. My daughter's a junior in college. You know what I mean? And so, we have the ability to do these things and we have the love and passion to do these things, right? And so that's
Hmm.
where we combine Lucia as we brought all of our knowledge base together. And I'll be honest with you, man, in December, the first part of December, we had our roughest year last year. Like we had a huge, explosive, expansive year, right? But financially, like we were losing things in certain areas because of growth and because of things. And then plus, I went through a personal thing with my old indoor facility that I had to go through and stuff like that in 2022 into that. So we had a really rough year last year, and we were literally thinking of like, we're done. We're throwing in the towel. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think a lot of vendors have said that after like a
Yeah.
large wedding where they're like, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. You know what I mean? And I think this industry is really good at doing that.
Yep.
And so we just said, our business coach, Chris Starkey. He's a great man. He's been my business coach for about 3.5 years now. So he got both of us together. We decided to combine our company, and go full decor and everything. And it's been over the year, this last year, like we have started to come in, and we've got a labor and logistics department. We've got a fabrication department. We've got a pipe and drape department. We are now a full warehouse full of decor, lounge sets, furniture sets, and all that. And then we have our labor and logistics team. And then now our design team has grown 2 to 4 designers, full-time designers. And so it's just been a year of massive growth. And
Yeah.
I think truly what has happened to us is that Shannon and I have come together, and we work well together. Like oddly enough, like we're a married couple, but we do work well together. And I truly believe it is that sense that her and I have, with like our recovery background and the ability to put service first and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, if we had time, I'd love to learn more about how do you make working together work together? Because that's kind of a hard thing to accomplish, a husband and wife duo.
We communicate. We communicate very well. We have our moments at night, and plus, coming from recovery, right? If I don't share internally what's going on,
Mhm.
that's where bad decisions happen. And
Yeah.
the bad decisions always aren't against anybody else. The bad decisions are sometimes against me. I'm
Sure.
not good enough. I don't deserve this. You know what I mean? Like they're better than me. Why even try? And so a lot of those things, just personally in business itself, right now you get 2 people that are doing that. And sometimes if you catch both each other on the same day, it could be toxic. It could be really toxic. So I think for us, it's me working with my sponsor and
Mhm.
also working with our business coach and keeping things very level headed and just the ability to have tough conversations, right? And then we separate it. We have a time, a night, done, it's done. We don't talk about it. It's not here. It doesn't come into this part. It doesn't come into our realm of our marriage or anything like that. And we become a married couple that aren't in business together. So it's been a huge work in progress. I'm not trying to say that it's been perfect. There's been
Mhm.
some massive blowouts, but some of those blowouts have needed to happen for us to grow in our business.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Super inspiring. I was just thinking to myself, like, this is the kind of speech and talk that we need to hear in NACE. Like, the content we get is good, and I like a lot
Right.
of the speakers, but none of it has been this real and maybe this personally applicable. So I appreciate you bringing it to this podcast. And if
Yeah.
I'll bring it up if you're interested. I'd love to kind of like present this to our board as like we need this kind of stuff too.
Let me know. Like I said, I love doing it. I love being raw and vulnerable. I'm a coach. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
coach 10-year-olds to college kids, athletes. And it's like, I love getting people uncomfortable to make change.
Yeah.
I like being the trendsetter. That's the one that says, that's tough. I'm like, good, let me do it. Please let me do it because I'm okay with failure. I'm 100% okay with failure because I've been sleeping under a tree, waking up by a sprinkler head at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much lower than that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so failure is, to me, it's a perception, it's a mindset. And if you're okay with failure, that means you're going to be really good at success.
Yeah. I love that. That's
You know what I
awesome.
mean? And that's what I want to instill in everybody. It's like, look, I'm not trying to come after you, but I'm also a bull that if you allow me and like you're going to like passively lay down and we're moving forward, like watch out, watch
Yeah.
out. Cause that's business. That's who I am. But at the same time, if you show some kind of compassion, I'm going to reach my hand out and help you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because again, there were people there that have done that for me in the lowest times of my life, in the lowest times of business. And I don't forget that. You know what I mean? I can't forget that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool. So with Lucia, tell us about like some of the most extravagant designs that you put on.
Oh my God, we're really known for hanging installations, right? Like really known for hanging installations. We did one, Spruce Mountain Ranch. We did it for this lady, her niece, Mary Chris Smith. She's a friend of ours. I did her 60th birthday party in Tampa, 3 days long, $5 million. It was extravagant. So she had a niece getting married and picked us to their floors at Spruce Mountain Ranch, and we did this 40-foot hanging chandelier.
Wow.
I mean, 40 feet long. And you go to the website, it's purple lighted, you'll see it. And it's just been my wife's she designs based on the fact that knowing I can hang it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been how it's gone. And now we've shown our teams how to hang it. So big extravagant designs have been part of what we do now. Big, more floral, getting the big wow, getting the big wow factors and the pops. It's scary, right? To hang anything in the air, suspend it, and to go bigger and bolder. It's like the first thought is, what if this doesn't work, right? Like our thought process is so negative.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to do is break down those barriers and check this out. And so just recently, last weekend on the 12th, 12/12/24, we did a wedding in Aspen. We couldn't say much about it because it was a NASCAR driver.
Oh, wow.
And it just got published. So let me find his name real quick. It was Ryan Blaney, NASCAR driver Ryan Blaney. So we have the write up right here in People Magazine. I don't know if you can see
Oh,
that.
yeah. I'm just pulling that up right now. Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
so if you go through that article and it talks about, it says, Winter Enchantment, it says the beautiful floral installations. And you click on that and our company is linked in the People magazine. So
Hey, congratulations.
yeah, thank you. So we've been involved, we've done Victoria's Secret models, and it's I don't care who we do it for. I really don't. Like, it's great that we, get that. I just care that the people we do it for are happy.
Hmm.
I don't care if you have $500 and a million, that you're spending on floral. That's where we pride ourselves because we took away our minimums, right? Like, again, you start growing, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. But then you're starting to exclude everybody else who got you there. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And so we've taken away our mins, and we don't care if we're working for a NASCAR driver or if we're working for Betty Lou who wants to get married out in her backyard. I don't care. We're going to give you the same love and appreciation. And so that's where Lucia grows. Like, right, we can do these huge, extravagant installs, and we like to make ourselves uncomfortable. Like, we like to grow to like, ooh, can we do this? Let's figure it out. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been our thing is God's got this. God's got this, right? Like 100%. Like, if you're a man of faith, or you practice it, you got to believe in it. And that's
Hmm.
kind of think what helps us grow is like, if we're doing things the right way and we're doing it for the goodness of our heart and we're making sure it's honest, well, we got to fail. We got to
Yeah.
lose.
I love that. I think that gives
And
us permission to try things. Like, I think there's a lot of,
fail.
yeah.
Fail. I tell
Uh,
my hitters all the time, I need you to fail. I need you to fail hard. Please fail hard because that means you're giving me the effort and we're going to learn how to correct it. Now, obviously, you don't want a hanging install to fall, right? But you want to push yourself to some uncomfortability so you're learning in the process.
mhm.
And I think that's where the big events and the big stalls and the big things that we've done have been extremely scary. But we have a lot of experience now at like dealing with fear. We have a lot of experience at like, is this going to work? I don't know. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Luis, I have loved hearing your story and your wife's story and Lucia and the strike crew. This has been all so amazing. I definitely would love to like connect with you more and share what
Absolutely.
what we talked about with the rest of NACE. So I will be doing a little bit of following up on my end. Was there anything that I missed asking about in our remaining couple minutes here?
No, I think with mine and my wife and who we are in this industry, like we got a colorful story. We have a pretty hard past. And I think we're not ashamed of that. And I think that's what's catapulted us into the people we are in business is like we're not afraid to fail. We're going to say yes because we want to help you out. And we're really, really trying to do it very, very humbly. I think
Mhm.
that's the key, right? Bringing humility into this and understanding it's like we don't want to be all things to all people and say, hey, look at us, but we do want to be all things to all people and say, let us help you, or how can we do this together, right?
Mhm.
And closing with this, like something a little bit about me and my wife, like we're getting ready to launch. I've been working on my nonprofit for almost 3 years now. And
Oh,
so it's
wow.
called the Martinez Foundation. And so we have 5 initiatives in it. And it's the website's not up yet, but if you send me your cell phone, I can text you the link and you can check it out.
Chat right now.
Yeah, and what it is it's providing food for kids that can't afford it on the weekends, weekend backpacks and stuff like that. Providing sports scholarship opportunities for kids that can't afford sports, even youth sports, rec sports, it doesn't matter. Senior connections, helping seniors, adapt and survive and just get grocery shopping or whatever. And then we have Generations United, where seniors are going to sponsor the youth and youth are going to sponsor the seniors. Then our last program is called Lose Lunches, where I got a food truck where I take it into low income communities and provide food and provide hygiene bags and provide doctors, dentists, all this stuff. So all that's getting ready to come out next year. And it's mine and my wife's kind of initiative on who we are, on giving back to the community. I grew up in Commerce City, poor community out there. And so that's kind of where my base is going to be is really diving in and bringing. And so what I'm saying this for is because I really want the wedding and event industry to like grasp this.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely could see it being grasped. Like that's amazing. Congratulations and thanks for
Yeah,
doing
thank you.
that. Yeah, like I could totally see. Let's set up a conversation because I think we need to get some balls moving for this. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know what I need, what I can do to help you guys, or if you want to come in and like I said, anyway, I love the people part of people.
Hmm. That's awesome. Very cool. Well, this has been incredible. Like one of the most inspiring episodes I've ever done. So I appreciate you providing that
I appreciate
inspiration.
that, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Where would our listeners go to find out more about you and Shannon and the different companies that we could interact with?
Everything is on luciaevents.com.
Awesome. And I'll spell that out
That's
for
our
people. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and that's our website. And then Instagram. So we have two Instagram pages, and what we're doing with our Instagram is we're going to kind of so the main one is Lucia Events. And then our other one is what we're doing. It's kind of like a behind the scenes, and it's called Lucia Strike Crew.
The Strike Crew.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we have Lucia Strike Crew, and what that is the BTS for Lucia. And so if that Lucia Strike Crew goes in and shows all the labor logistics is set up and kind of the bills and all that, and then the Lucia page is where it shows all of our events. But Instagram is the biggest one and stuff like that. So it's
That's awesome. So and then just if you were gonna go and check that out, it's LUSHA events.com.
.com. Yes.
Fantastic, Luis. Well, thanks for being a member of NACE and for joining us on this podcast. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys got as much inspiration out of this as I did. And connect with Luis, connect with Shannon, and can't wait to see you at our next NACE meeting. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.